Welcome to a very special episode of Wide Open Throttle. This week we're talking all about Japan. We had several of our editors on trips to the recent Tokyo Motor Show. Scott Evans went with Honda, our technical editor Frank Marcus went with Nissan, and I was a guest of Mitsubishi. Before the show, I got to drive the Outlander plug-in hybrid, so let's take a look at the clip. Okay, so yeah, I'm here in Japan. It's a beautiful day and we're on the world-famous Hakone skyline in a Mitsubishi Outlander PHEV, and that stands for Plug-in Hybrid Electric Vehicle. And in 2015, this model should come to the US. Now, back when the Outlander was new in our 2014 SUV of the Year competition, we were pretty hard on it, to be honest. This vehicle, however, does have a pretty compelling case in terms of being a sophisticated, high technology ride. You know, it uses this plug-in hybrid powertrain, which is a segment exclusive for now. They're the only one in the two-row SUV class that offers plug-in hybrid capability. And it's a pretty great system. It uses two 60 kilowatt electric motors and a 4-cylinder 2-liter gas engine up front. And it can run in series mode, parallel mode, but EV mode, which gives it about 30 to 32 miles of range and can go as high as 75 miles an hour. All that may change when it comes to the US, but you know what's really interesting, I think, is that this car appeals to a lot of people that are maybe just interested in a vehicle as basic transportation. What it also does is it offers the Outlander a unique selling proposition, something that it was lacking with just the gas engine, which is sort of uncompetitive. PHEV, class exclusive technology, you know, could really help boost the sales of the Outlander. So, you saw I drove it. It was awesome. Hakone skyline, beautiful view of Mount Fuji in the background, and to be honest, a much better vehicle than the one we had at SUV of the Year. I seem to recall that we slammed that one pretty hard. My takeaway, I think the biggest takeaway about the plug-in hybrid Outlander is that now it actually has a unique selling proposition. There's no PHEV in the two or three row SUV market right now, and this will be Mitsubishi's attempt to make some hay with this.
But you know, that's a pretty tiny niche, let's be honest. I mean, it's pretty interesting to watch where the decline of Mitsubishi as an automaker over the years. I mean, if you go back to the Montero, which you could argue brought sort of Range Rover type capability at an affordable price. It was easy to drive around town, very nice, roomy, three-row SUV. It was the blueprint for that sort of small SUV. Now we're talking about a niche of a niche. It's interesting to see where Mitsubishi is going.
I mean, are they going? I mean, so the fact that they flew out there seems to indicate that they still think they're going to sell cars in the U.S. I mean, like, I mean, you know, that vehicle that was at SUV of the Year. I mean, talk about launching at the bottom of the segment. I mean, that was, you know what I mean? Really, it had it was mediocre compared to everything else there, and I mean. I just, they really want to be in the U.S.? I mean,
great questions, great points. Actually, I'm glad you brought up Montero because that was Mitsubishi's big launch at Tokyo. Were 3 SUV concepts, including one that will be the next Pajero, possibly come to the U.S. as Montero. The other was an updated Outlander, and then another one which we probably won't see. It's more of an MPV type vehicle for Asia and other markets. They have a very clear strategy, I think, on SUV. I think they understand the limitations. Definitely Mitsubishi Motors North America, they get that the product is not competitive. I think the biggest things they got was styling on that vehicle. Is really marshmallowy inside out. We talked to the designer. He agreed. You know, they're going to butch it. They're going to.
but shouldn't he be?
They're going to butch it up a little bit for sure.
Well, those SUV concepts, I mean, looked pretty cool. They were pretty
totally right. So
kind of Transformers things going.
Exactly. No, they look like Voltron.
The designer should have agreed 3 years ago when the thing was in play. I mean, right?
Sure. But what I found most interesting is that they have a pretty clear SUV strategy. What they're doing with the cars is equally baffling. I mean, even more baffling. And I sat down, talked to the CEO of Mitsubishi Motors Limited, the parent company of North America, asked them the very question: are you guys committed to the U.S.? He gets that a lot, so he had a pretty pat answer about we will continue to.
Do you remember at the New York show, like maybe it was 3 years ago, they said, okay, we're getting rid of the Evo because that's not Mitsubishi. We're going all electric or hybrid. Every car sold in the U.S., we're gonna have 8 cars. Within 5 years, everyone will be electric or hybrid. And so you were saying, how many IMEVs did they sell last month?
I think it was single digits, like something close to 9.
Yeah, they sold 9, and that was after they knocked $4,000 off the price. I can't believe they're serious as a car company.
That's not. I mean, that obviously, the slow sales of EVs is not a Mitsubishi alone problem. Nissan's had issues with the Leaf, and there's issues.
But it just seems like a risky way to bet.
Yeah, but 9? I mean, yeah.
No, I hear you. But again, we had a pretty good interview with the CEO. Which we'll throw to now and take a look, discussing future plans, particularly as it relates to the cars that we know, Lancer and Galant. It was mentioned in the announcement that possibly 2 sedans, a large sedan and a mid-size or compact sedan, which for North America could mean new Galant or new Lancer. And these would be, I think, built in South Korea and then sold in North America?
Well, concerning the Galant successor, it's needed it's needed in USA, so we would like to make use of the Nissan Renault vehicle, and so that's one candidate, vehicles manufactured in South Korea.
You're saying basically next Galant you would like to use Renault platform. Do you think that will be acceptable for fans of Mitsubishi? Like, will there be enough differentiation in product between the Renault, Nissan, and the Mitsubishi vehicle?
Well, in case of Renault, we're not selling in the United States, so to what level are we going to do the differentiation? We don't have to differentiate that much because it's not sold in the American market at the moment.
So will it be mostly like just change the badge and maybe front bumper, rear bumper, or will there be more?
Not only, maybe 2 less if you just change the badge, a little bit more, to make use of the Mitsubishi identity, brand identity.
So I think that's pretty shocking. I mean, he's basically saying that they will be teaming up. They have a memorandum of understanding with Nissan Renault to work together on cars, basically rebadging vehicles within the Nissan Renault family and bringing them here. Now the twist is that where are they from? They're from.
So they're going to rebadge Samsungs from Korea, which are actually rebadged Renaults from France.
But they're built locally in Korea. That's where the economies of scale come in. But the most interesting thing I think you said was that it's great. People don't know it's a Samsung car in the U.S., so we can just put a Mitsubishi badge on it.
Has he not heard of this thing called the internet? I mean,
right.
The problem Mitsubishi has always had as an automaker is that automaking is actually a tiny fraction of Mitsubishi's business. It's a bank. It's a massive industrial conglomerate that does everything. And the joke used to be that the only reason Mitsubishi got into car making was to give some Mitsubishi branded product for all its senior executives to drive around in, because it had so many of them.
Because they have Mitsubishi beer to drink and whiskey to drink and coffee to drink.
Well, that's actually, we saw that firsthand in Japan. I was with Jim, our video producer, when we did the PHEV drive, and we're driving around and we're looking and we're like, what? We saw this car, and it's the Proudia, the Mitsubishi Proudia, which was a Nissan. The M, the
Infinity M class.
The Infinity M class, an M37 or whatever. New grille, that's it, different wheels, and a Proudia. There's also the Mitsubishi Dignity. Now, why do they do these cars? Again, because the execs who work for Mitsubishi Motors in Japan need something to drive. They can't be driving competitors' cars, so what they did is they did an agreement with Nissan, got some Infinity cars, rebadged them. You can kind of buy these vehicles apparently, but not really.
When you say drive them though, what you mean is that they have a chauffeur with white gloves who opens the door for them and they sit in the back.
My favorite conspiracy theory is that Mitsubishi Motors only exists so that Mitsubishi Central Bank has like a $500 million loss every year to offset their massive profits from the 90s,
So even with all these grand plans and intentions, how long do you think it really is before Mitsubishi goes the way of Suzuki?
Suzuki was in a very different position. You know, they actually, I think,
They had a much
they had a much smaller operation, and
Yeah.
it wasn't. It couldn't. They couldn't. The parent company couldn't absorb it the way. You know, if you believe the CEO, I think they can stay here. They can hang out for a bit longer.
What do you think
they're again, the technology they're interested in, this plug-in hybrid stuff, they are going to bring the same powertrain from Outlander, they say, into the next generation of sedans. So I mean, you know.
So does anyone here think there's like a one solution that they could do? Well, the fundamental problem they need to address first, because we had that lunch with some people from Mitsubishi a few months ago, and one of the things I asked them was, what does Mitsubishi mean? What does Mitsubishi stand for? Are you guys a sporty company that does Evos? Are you an SUV company? Are you a family car company? What is Mitsubishi? And they didn't really have an answer.
Yeah, they don't.
They don't know
it's fundamentally
what they're trying to be.
A leadership, I think, issue, because the CEO is very clearly a numbers guy, not a car guy. So now let's change gears and talk about something really fun. Our technical editor, Frank Marcus, was on the Nissan trip and checked out the Nismo GT-R.
About to take my first laps here at Sotogoro Forest Raceway. I can tell you, we just drove on the public roads, and the base car is much more civilized. When we had our long-term cars, we complained quite a bit about the racket and the din when you took a long trip and so forth. Is really a lot more quiet. You're not intimately aware of every little sound from the gearbox and everything else. So that's a big improvement. None of those changes have been put in this car. This is strictly for performance. Just awaiting the all clear here. 600 horsepower, 481 pound-feet. Stiffer brakes, different power steering. I don't really remember the steering being a bad thing here before. All right, and away we go. Oh yeah, all right, good. Still lets you get into plenty of trouble if you're trying. Still every bit the extreme monster that we all remember and love, only sort of a little bit more so. It does seem quite easy to string together a decent lap. I got it pretty loose right at the beginning there, gave me some healthy respect for the loud pedal. But the steering feel is wonderful. Certainly the brakes feel quite linear. Not that I had a big problem with that before. And there's my checkered flag. Give it a little bit of a cool down. One of the big takeaways is that Nismo is really kind of trying to change its image in the US. Go for a more holistic package of performance and appearance and so forth. They had a few cars where the appearance, was the main thing and whatever. And this is a great vehicle to make that point with. Of course, it's easy for me to say living out in Michigan, but I'd say go for the Nismo. Pretty impressive piece of kit, as always.
So, yeah, Nismo GT-R, I think we also saw it at the LA show.
Yeah.
With Usain Bolt, just standing right there. Ron James got a picture.
Usain Bolt.
Yeah, what did I say?
Usain.
Oh, sorry. I have a friend Usain.
Nissan Bolt.
Resident Nissan GT-R fanboy, what is your take on the vehicle?
They made it uglier, I think. It's not a good looking car. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine.
See,
I would still, what? It's functional. Okay, it's more beautiful and it's added function. So it's less pretty.
Oh, see,
but it's more appealing. I can't wait to drive it.
The front and the rear are carbon fiber new clips, and in fact, the entire rear and the entire front. The front, it looks kind of like a Veneno. It's a little busy, but the rear, it kind of comes out. Instead of being flat, it kind of like rounds out. I think it looks like.
I like the paint that they had on it was amazing. That like matte gray. It looks more purposeful, so it's more attractive in that respect, but it's less pretty. Not that it was ever pretty.
It's weird.
It's never pretty.
No, but
In
it's still
Tokyo,
attractive. It's
in
attractive.
Tokyo, I spent about 4 seconds and then looked at the IDX Free Flow, that super awesome rear drive BRZ FRS competitor, which blew my mind.
Yeah.
I think those things stole the show, but
Which oh
the IDXs, yeah.
absolutely.
Oh, for sure, because they have that wonderful classic Japanese, like almost like the stance of like a Subaru Brat, you know, like that kind of like on their.
It's a 510.
510. No, but they were kind of up, like the back was up.
But it was, and it's great to see cars coming. You know, I owned 510. I rallied a 510, and you know, in Australia they were the car that you could bolt all sorts of bits to them to create a really fast car. So, you know, mine had a 180B engine. It had Z transmission and rear brakes. But I just loved the proportion and the stance of this car, and it just looked right. They're idiots if they don't build it, truly.
Sure, and I think they've received so much positive commentary. I mean, it really did steal the show because it was such a surprise. Like nobody knew about it. They had one leak to one Japanese media outlet, and apparently Andy Palmer, the designers, they kept it so close to the chest. I think the guy who leaked it got fired because literally it was like the design staff only the guys who built the car knew about it, and they were like, there's 8 people in this room that had access to these images. One of you guys gave it up.
So, you know, what I'm hoping is that, you know, this is a reaction to, say, BRZ, and just in the way that Miata kick-started the small rear-drive roadster boom, which everyone said until Miata came along, everyone said, well, there's no point in building those cars. No one wants those cars, segment's dead. Well, guess what? It reinvented the segment. Before long, BMW and Mercedes were building small roadsters. So if the BRZ can kick off the idea of small rear-drive, you know, 2-door coupes, I mean, Chevy's playing around with the 130R. It's a very similar car. You know, there could be hope there for we enthusiasts that there's going to be cool, small, fun to drive rear drive cars coming back. They don't need monster V8s. Turbocharged 4s will give you a ton of grunt.
Yeah, exactly.
And a lot of entertainment. So
exactly right.
They have to build that car. They must build that car.
And it's, you know, because BMW now with the 2 Series, that's coming. And I mean, I know, like, you know, we're probably going to get our hands on like the 235M, but there'll probably be one that isn't $60,000. That, yeah. But I mean, wow, you know, and they're not going to bring Datsun back to the U.S., but if, you know, it's like 20 couple $1,000s, like small rear-wheel drive.
Well, here's the thing. Would you like to see a vehicle like that IDX at the expense of, say, 370Z? Because the idea is that they may not be able to keep both in the product plan.
When's the last time we even touched a 370Z around here?
Well, not only that, I mean, 370Z.
It's a 5-year-old car at this point, so they haven't.
Yeah, they got to refresh it, but like, you know, at this point, like the Mustang is a lot better than the 370.
I don't think the Z will go anywhere, especially now with the reintroduction of Nismo. They're really going to be hawking it because if they can add performance to their performance lineup already, then I think they'll keep it around. I don't think they'll have to sacrifice one or the other. You know what rear drive car we're not talking about though is the Blade Glider, which was like everybody was talking about this crazy wedge shaped thing, and then these little IDX things came out, and everyone forgot about the flying V.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
it's just
Rightly so.
Yeah.
It's just a bit of auto show eye candy, really.
they keep swearing that we're looking to make this thing production, and I'm just going,
Oh.
really?
So not, you know, you're not talking about the Le Mans car. You're talking about an actual production.
No,
the actual, like,
yeah.
And in fact, the team actually suing.
Delta Wing is suing them over
over the.
the race car, the street car, the whole thing.
and Blade Glider. So
Yeah.
that might all intellectual property lawsuits. So they might just not do it just because of that.
Yeah, but if that's out of the way,
Who said they can't do
IDX.
IDX and 370Z? Or is that just
Well,
typical?
the idea was
like,
that you couldn't do all
well,
3 because they kept saying that they want to do a production like Blade Glider flying V thing, but that there wasn't room. They didn't have the budget to do all 3. So you kick that thing out of the way, and then you got IDX and 370Z, and I'm perfectly happy with that.
You wouldn't walk away from the 370Z or the Z moniker. That you can keep going.
Well,
That
they
car-
did.
They did. They have.
They walked away for 10 years.
I
yeah.
know, but you know, you should learn from your mistakes in the past. And
Why,
you know that car.
why start now?
That car desperately needs a new engine. That Nissan V6 is, you know, probably the clunkiest, harshest.
It was great in 2007.
Yeah,
It's now 2014.
It's just not a good engine. It needs to move on from there. they'd be suicidal if they didn't get rid of that V idea. That's going nowhere. So I think you can say that the Z's going to stay.
When you can make it a whole family, even if you had like a small, like the little Juke, like 1.6 liter turbocharged engine and like the IDX, and then a bigger, you know, more powerful Turbo 4 and a, you know, lighter 370Z would be a great, you know, like step up too. And then GT-R on top, yeah.
Okay, we've just done the product plan for this.
So let's, you know, spin this conversation wider and talk about the show in general. I mean, unfortunate timing this year that Tokyo and LA were right on top of each other. But I thought, you know, still a pretty good show. I mean, there were some cool cars that we, you know, talked about.
Yeah, you know, it was interesting. I've probably done almost every Tokyo show of the past 20-something years. I first went in 1985, and I realized with a shock that actually I'd got my accreditation to LA and Tokyo was on at the same time, and I wasn't that bothered because, you know, the Tokyo show had become less and less relevant. It used to be a tier 1 show for everybody, and now, you know, the shows in China are more important. And also, I was spoiled, I guess. For me, the 1989 Tokyo Auto Show was the greatest auto show of all time. In 1989, Japan had launched the LS400 Lexus, the R32 Skyline Godzilla. It had the Acura NSX. I keep calling it a Honda, of course. And then there were, you know, all these concept cars there. There was the Toyota 4500 GT,
which is the greatest car that Toyota never built.
Well, it was their take on a Porsche 928. You know, Toyota had the Previa. There was the Ferrari lookalike MR2. There was the Nissan QX, which had fuzzy logic in it. Subaru had the SVX prototype there.
3000 GT.
89 too, wasn't it?
Yeah, Miata was an 89 car as well. I mean, you walked out of the Makuhari Messe there in Tokyo as a journalist, and you just thought, the rest of the world is screwed. Mercedes-Benz, General Motors, they're dead. These guys can do anything. And yet, I've seen it go downhill progressively from about the mid-90s. They kind of ran out of energy.
And the death knell was really in our economic crisis, that giant ripple effect when all the U.S. companies said, you know what, we'll just pull out of the Tokyo
Well,
show,
I think also, but I think
irrelevant.
the malaise happened earlier when the Japanese bubble economy burst. I mean, they were funding cars and doing, you know, Mazda had something like 6 different channels, UNOS, Amati, ZDOS, you know, they were producing cars for them. The bubble economy made that work, but when the bubble economy imploded, then, you know, we realized that the Japanese automakers were just like the rest of us. They had feet of clay. They had managers who were out of their depth. They had poor understanding of brand, and, you know, they didn't really progress the product.
Now that having been said, because I've been to the last, you know, 3 of them, and I've seen that rather steep decline during our economic meltdown. This one was, I think, kind of a curve. They've left Makuhari Messe.
I was kind of kicking myself that I didn't go this year.
to new site, Tokyo big site. Some good stuff. You know, we talked about IDX and Nismo GT-R. There's the Lexus RC, which you went early.
Yeah, I didn't go to the Tokyo show, but I got to go to Nagoya to check out the concept and photograph it and talk to the designers. And I was really surprised when they took me into the studio and they actually showed some restraint in the design, and they showed a real concern to bringing some excitement back to the Lexus brand, because they've been focusing so hard on hybrid technology and efficiency.
Which rich people just don't care about at all.
But, you know,
They
it's for the
don't.
bragging rights of
Tesla
Tesla owners.
Well, yeah, but there's, you know, 20,000 of them.
You also saw that weirdo.
The LFNX Turbo. LFNX, yeah.
They need to work on their names too. Yeah.
Which was the same thing as the hybrid they'd shown before, but they like put dark wheels on it, so it looked more menacing.
Super edgy.
Yeah, and it was actually kind of cool. They said it was going to be pretty close to that for the production model. It won't be. You know, the headlights were 3 LED squares, so that kind of thing will never translate.
But Toyota actually has a pretty good history of launching like not quite sibling, but like cousin SUVs. Like, you know, like they still do 4Runner and Highlander. You know, and if you look at them from the outside, it's like, aren't they kind of the same thing? And not really. One's a minivan, one's an off-roader. So they could still do the RX and then do that crazy looking.
Well,
that's
the smaller one.
that's the hot new segment. Is
those
the tiny like luxury SUVs are suddenly like taking off. So now everybody's got to get one in
Led
there.
the way by that Buick.
The Encore.
The Encore.
Is that what it's called? Yeah, that thing's great.
But actually, it's the Europeans who've been leading that way. You know, the SUVs are getting smaller. So you know, Porsche had the Macan. We've got the GLA, Mercedes coming. Audi's doing a Q1. So again, Japan's now been given a signpost of a direction to follow.
Well, it's like the RC. We were just talking about that. You know, like it's not just a two-door IS. It's like kind of a different platform, which is exactly what BMW did with the 4 Series, where it's like
Why are we talking about this Lexus, you know, coupe thing when you also got a chance to look at and go with Honda and take a look at the update on the NSX? And what was that all about?
I mean, that was really cool. I mean, we had, because they really kind of threw away everything and started over. I mean, it still looks like the same car, but the whole plan originally was to kind of do this the most cost-effective way and take the RLX Sport Hybrid drivetrain they had, where they had a hybrid V6 drivetrain in the front and electric motors in the rear, and they basically turned it around.
Yeah, it's a backwards RLX.
And somewhat time within the last few months, they threw it away. And they said, we need to do something more interesting, more
Probably
exciting,
smart, yeah.
because we're benchmarking the Ferrari 458. We want it to be this good. So now, all new V6 engine, something less than 3.5 liters, twin turbo with a hybrid. And you can tell they're really spending money on this, A, because they designed a new engine, but B, because they designed a 7-speed dual clutch transmission, transaxle, that has no application besides this car. That's a huge amount of money to spend on one car.
It's good they're doing it because they have to. Because like Honda, if they if this doesn't come out, like why would you care about Acura?
It will come out, but if it comes out as anything less than with the name NSX on it, they're going to be.
But here's the problem. You know, how can anyone take them seriously about this car? Look at all the time and effort that they put into the original NSX, which when it came out sent Ferrari back to the drawing board. You know, Luca de Montezemolo will tell you he had a 348, and they had an NSX in Maranello, and they realized how bad the 348 was.
Your favorite car.
So, it is my favorite car. So, but then they launched this car, and then they just let it die. So, you know, I'm a skeptic in that, yeah, this is great. Honda's going to do this, so okay, great. Will Honda have a replacement to this car, a follow-up to this car? It's like, it's almost like they go in there and prove, yeah, well, we can do this, but really we're not that interested in it. We'd rather build another Accord.
Well, that's the thing. You need, like Chevy has with the Camaro or the Corvette guys. There are guys, they just want to make that Corvette so good. That's all they want to do. And they're Corvette lifers, you know, there's racing and there's this. And, you know, as maybe Lexus showed with the LFA, you can build like a, you know, competitive world-class supercar, and it's totally hated by everybody in the company, you know, and that could be what's happening with the NSX. Now, what I do like with the NSX is being built in the U.S., and so these are like Detroit-based guys.
Yeah,
you know,
I'm just skeptical. You know, I'd like to see the car. I'll believe it when they do another generation of this car, and then I'll say, okay, Honda, we know you've been racing, we know you can do performance, but now you're actually committed to building a sports
And they are
car.
trying to be somewhat serious about it, because we know at least that far, because they showed us a prototype of the race car for the Nissan for the Japanese supercar series. So they want to take it racing. Someone from HPD, Honda Performance Development in California, told me that they're already, you know, talking to Honda corporate about doing some kind of hot version of the NSX. So at least for this first generation, they're taking it very seriously.
They've done it all before, and then they abandoned it.
Right.
Call me a skeptic.
And on that note,
skeptic.
that's all we have time for in this episode of Wide Open Throttle. See you next time.